and welcome to this video with me, Wayne, from swimmingcyclingrunning.com. Today I'm going to look at why tumble turns might be good for all triathletes, and more importantly, I'm actually going to give you a lesson in how you can learn to tumble in progressive stages so that you can start to tumble just like an expert, so stay tuned. And while we're about staying tuned, please subscribe to this channel. It helps us a hell of a lot. And don't forget to click that notification bell to be informed when we upload any new content. I often hear triathletes say, I turn just as fast using a touch turn, so there's no need to do tumbles. But what they're really saying is, I actually tumble turn slowly, so there's no point in using them. However, there are two huge reasons why triathletes benefit from effecting a good tumble turn. Firstly, it maintains your momentum. And secondly, by regularly holding your breath when you're under pressure, you're used to it when it happens in a race or when you really need it. Let's look at the first reason, maintaining momentum. When you touch turn, you hit the wall with your hand and your body comes to a complete stop. Generally, you push your arm off the wall to generate momentum to turn your body to go into the opposite direction. And you plant your feet on the wall and then you push off. However good you are, you have to stop moving one way to generate power to move the other way. When you tumble turn, you generate power through the tumble. And therefore, your body rotates and generates the speeds it needs. Your feet hit the wall, and that momentum helps you generate speed to come off the wall. So instead of losing momentum, you maintain it, which is much more like swimming in open water, where you don't lose momentum at any point. You have a constant speed. So for triathletes, tumble turns replicates race conditions far better than touch turns. The second reason may be even more important. How many times in a race, or even just in open water swimming, either in the rush at the start or due to waves coming over your head, have you suddenly not been able to breathe? The feeling you get when this happens is often an immediate panic that can potentially ruin your race. But regularly practicing not breathing by doing tumble turns gets you used to not breathing for a few seconds every single length. You train your mind never to get into that panic mode. So doing tumble turns makes a lot of sense. However, how do you perform a good one? Let's take a look at some good swimmers performing tumble turns to get some tips. There are two things that need to happen before you can push off the wall. One, your feet have to be planted on that wall. And two, you need to be in a streamlined position. Ideally, these two states will happen at exactly the same time. So there's no delay. You can push off immediately your feet hit the wall. No speed is lost, and the momentum you take into the wall is used like a bouncing ball to give you momentum and speed off the wall. Let's just take a look at this swimmer coming into the wall. After her previous stroke, her left arm has remained by her left thigh. Her right arm then takes its final stroke and her hand is laid against her right thigh. Both of her hands simply join together as she tumbles through, leaving her legs planted on the wall and her arms extending into the streamlined position. At this point, she's almost on her back, but as she pushes off, she rotates her head and her body to get back into the prone position. So there you see tumble turns being executed by a top squad at a swimming club, regional and national swimmers. But how can you learn to execute a tumble turn so efficiently? Tumbling for most swimmers is difficult because it can disorient you. Now, from the video you've just seen, you might begin to realise that most swimmers don't actually get onto their front on the wall. They leave the wall on their backs or slightly on their side. So let's start by simply tumbling but heading off in the same direction as you started in. And you'll do this by swimming down a single length. So as you swim down the length, simply tumble 3 times anywhere in the length, but make sure you keep tucked and only straighten out as you come round to the surface once again. So you're coming a full circle. If you open up half tucked halfway through your tumble will stop and you'll be in the wrong orientation. You'll never get that complete tumble. Keep doing that for about 6 one-length swims, and slowly but surely you'll get faster and the tumbles will get better, simply heading off in the same direction. Remember, you're committing to bending to take your head close to your knees in a straight line without any twists in your spine or your head, because if you do that you'll slip out sideways and not be able to make the tumble. Comment below on how you find this and how you find this sort of practice, and let us know any problems you experience. It might just help other people. The next step is to swim 10 meters, tumble in the lane, stretching out flat when you're halfway through the tumble, turning onto your front and head back in the direction you just came from. Doing it this way makes the wall irrelevant. You haven't got a wall there, and so it makes it easy. You can't miss the wall, but you will have to kick hard as you head back in the opposite direction. Again, do this around 6 times and you'll get used to the feeling of moving in one direction, stretching out once you've tumbled and coming back in the other direction. Once you're used to turning and heading back in the opposite direction, you're ready to add the wall. Go 8 to 10 meters from the wall and swim in. Now you'll just be adjusting your distance from the wall depending on how the previous tumble went. Remember, you're looking off to push off the wall on your back and use your core and head to turn onto your front once you're off the wall. Doing it any other way, turning, might disorient you as you do the tumble. That sort of thing comes later on. You're going to have to get used to this, so accept that you'll occasionally miss the wall until you can judge it every time. In fact, it really is surprising how close to the wall you have to be before tumbling. Let's take a look at one of our good swimmers tumbling and draw a line level with her eyes, parallel to the lines on the wall. Her body simply rotates around that line, and you can see that when she plants her feet on the wall, that line is now level with her chest. She's also got bent knees, so if you stand up and bend your knees and take a measurement from about this sort of position to the floor, you'll have the right distance that you should be from the wall when you tumble. Now that, surprisingly, is only 1 to 1.1 meter from the wall. Let's take a look at another swimmer. Place a line where his eyes are and you can see where that line is when he's completed his tumble. This time it's actually by his waist, so he's even closer to the wall. Now I would actually suggest that his legs are slightly too bent to maximise his push-off, but it does illustrate just how close you can be to the wall before you tumble. So there you have it. I've given you the reasons why you should tumble. I've given you a progression on how you can begin to tumble, and I've shown you just how close to the wall you need to be to actually effect a really good tumble turn. Okay, enjoy your swimming, start tumbling, begin to enjoy it. It does take some time, but it's well worth the effort. Happy training.